Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. In Joshua chapter 1 and verse 18 it says, "And Judah took Gaza with its territory, and Ashkelon with its territory, and Ekron with its territory." Verse 19, "Now the Lord was with Judah, and they took possession of the hill country, but they could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley because they had iron chariots." And as we read this, we have to ask ourselves, was it really because they had iron chariots? Surely the Lord could overtake their iron chariots. We've seen the Lord do a lot of mighty things and allowed Israel to overcome mighty kings and take over mighty armies. And yet here Judah falls short of completely taking the land that was allotted to them simply because in the valley the inhabitants had iron chariots. And what this really reflects is not some fault by the Lord, but rather a fault by the people. And this really reflects the fact that they didn't really have the faith to overtake these iron chariots. They were very good at taking over the possession of the hill country and other places that weren't quite as intimidating, but they came across these inhabitants that had these iron chariots, and then all of a sudden they seem to have lost their faith in being able to overtake these various inhabitants. And so as we think about this, we might ask ourselves, what are the iron chariots in our lives? What are the things in our lives that we feel are unbreakable, things that we feel like we can never overcome, things that we feel are too strong for us to have victory over? It might be some type of habitual sin that we've been struggling with over the years. It might be some type of difficult relationship. It might be some type of difficult circumstance or situation, maybe some type of other problem. But we come across these various situations and we see nothing but iron chariots, and our faith begins to waver. We see the challenge that stands before us, and as a result, we begin to waver and we begin to shrink back. And we don't really walk forward with confidence, knowing that the Lord will be with us, that He is more powerful than the situation, and that He can help us have the victory. And so whenever we find ourselves in a similar situation as Judah, and we find ourselves in a situation of failure and defeat, we got to ask ourselves, is the situation really the problem? Or is it a lack of faith within my own heart? And as we think about that, we might say, well, in all likelihood, it's a lack of faith in my own heart. And that's the time when we have to be real with ourselves, and we have to say, you know what? I have to walk with further confidence, greater faith in the Lord, and trust in Him, knowing that He will see me through. And the way that we do this is by expanding our view of God. It's not something that's just going to magically happen. It's not like we can just sit around and just wait for more faith to build up in our hearts. We build up faith by building up a bigger and wider and more expansive view of God. The bigger our God is, the bigger our faith will be. And the bigger our God will be, the smaller our circumstances will seem. And so as we encounter various situations in our lives where we come across these iron chariots, we have to say, you know what? It may not be the circumstance that is holding me back or that is keeping me from moving forward. It might be my own faith. And when we see that happening, we must expand our view of God, and God's word helps us to expand our view of God. It strengthens us. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of Christ. As Romans chapter 10 and verse 15 says, the more and more we get in God's word and we read about the wondrous acts that God has done in the past, the more and more our view of God expands and our faith is strengthened, and we're able to encounter the various circumstances that we come across. So let's be encouraged today. When we come across iron chariots, quote unquote, iron chariots, let's bolster up our faith by expanding our view of God based upon His word and move forward with confidence, knowing that God can see us through and that we can overcome. So these are some things we can reflect on and think about as we do our reading today. With that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.